Welcome to the Jocelyn interview show. This is Jack Newby. I'm the executive director of the Jocelyn Center. Want to thank you for tuning in, and also if you're listening on podcast for tuning in on that as well. Before we get into our interview today, just a couple of things about the Jocelyn Center. 1981 was when we were founded, so we're celebrating our 40th anniversary this year. And I was just doing some things, checking back. When the Jocelyn Center was founded in 1981, there was no internet, there were no cell phones. We've been through 9/11, and of course the COVID pandemic. And all of those things tell us about some of the changes that have happened in our lives and in our world over the past 40 years. But the one thing that hasn't changed is the need for senior centers and the need to keep seniors and older adults active and engaged, because the lack of activity and social isolation has real serious medical consequences. And that's why the Jocelyn Center is here. That's why we're here to serve you. That's why we've decided to do these interviews and to let you know about important organizations and people here in our community that are serving the seniors all throughout the Coachella Valley. And so today, we're very pleased to welcome Dom Calvano. And I've known Dom for a number of years. He is the co-founder and president of the board of directors of Alzheimer's Coachella Valley. And there you are, Dom. Welcome.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much, Jack.
Good to see you. And it hit me as I were preparing for an event, and I was looking at the changes that have happened over 40 years. And not only those technical changes, technological changes, but things that have happened in our lives. And one of the things that's happened is we're understanding more about Alzheimer's and the needs of the people who with Alzheimer's and also their caregivers. And that's kind of what is behind Alzheimer's Coachella Valley.
Yeah, it's interesting when I was listening to you talk earlier and how you talk about getting people out and making sure that they're socializing and engaging in the community. We see firsthand every single day just how important that is, as I'm sure you do too. And one of the things that really makes our job and our mission, one of the fun things to do is just to see people out there having fun again instead of sitting in their house, isolated all the time. So yeah, I completely understand.
We're kind of peeking our heads above the water right now and hoping we don't get hit by a big wave again. But
yes.
So tell me a little bit about Alzheimer's Coachella Valley. How long have you been around, and where are you located?
Okay, first of all, we're located in the Berger Charitable Foundation building on Cook Street, which is 42600 Cook Street. We're in Suite 134. But we've got basically the whole bottom floor there now. Our recent expansion has given us, we started with about 800 square feet and we're now pushing about 4,000 square feet. So we are very, very excited to, and we celebrated that with our open house on the 5th of November. And that also marked 4 years in existence for ACV. In January, we look forward to starting 5 years in the Coachella Valley with, I would have to say, pretty substantial success. We've got about, say 300 people in a week or so coming to ACV. So we know that the things that we're doing seem to strike a chord with our senior population.
Well, what are some of the programs and services that you provide for people with Alzheimer's or other cognitive impairment?
Well, one of the very first things we implemented was educational, series. We realized I run in-home care with my daughter, Custom Care Solutions. And in doing so, we saw a need to make sure that our caregivers, this goes for not just the paid caregivers, but also family caregivers, the need to really understand and how to properly care for dementia patients. So our caregiver dementia certification program was initiated just a few months after we opened, actually, and that has been very successful. It's a state-approved series with over 50 different topics, and there's one class per month taught by Edwina Dirk. She's a registered RN and works for the California Nursing Educational Institute in Palm Springs. So she wrote these classes. We got them state approved. We teach them every month, and they're absolutely 100% free of charge. And caregivers, both paid and unpaid, can come and learn about all the different topics. And we kind of cover some of the things that are, really sensitive and that a lot of training seems to kind of just skim over, the things like inappropriate sexual behavior, agitation, and all the different things that happen that are kind of shocking, to a caregiver that's not really, educated and trained to handle these events. And the other things that we do are designed to get the family unit more together, bring caregivers and diagnose together in a safe environment where they can have fun, have a free lunch, play games, sing. There's music classes, art classes, and it's just all about basically getting people out and being socially active.
Well, the training classes and the fact that you have 50 different courses, I wouldn't even know that there were 50 different things one would have to know if they were caring for, a person with Alzheimer's or other dementia. So, to me, that is an amazing amount of information. And we know that, caregivers out there, whether they're paid or family, are going to be confronted with, if you will, or experience behaviors and other things with the people they're caring for, their loved ones, that they may have no idea that they're going to experience and have no idea how to handle it when it happens.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things too that really becomes an issue is, along with the diagnosis of dementia comes, I think people become not sure of how to be comfortable and how to have a conversation. So people tend to stay away. They'll say things like, "Did you see how he was talking? It was just terrible. I didn't know what to do. I felt so awkward being there." So then friends, family stop coming over, and then the isolation really creeps in. So one of the really important things that we do is our meaningful conversation, where we actually train, family members and caregivers how to effectively communicate, how they can have a decent conversation where it's not just like an interrogation. "Did you eat today? How was your day?" And it's very generic, but when you know how to really communicate, you're bringing pictures from the past, you're doing things that, spark their, some enjoyment, things that that's gonna, bring back the memories from the past, because the long-term memory, in most cases, is still there. So when you find these things that you can talk about, and you don't talk to them like they don't exist, you actually look them in the eye and speak to them, and like they're another real person that's sitting there. Sure, what happens is we don't understand that it's hard for them to find their words or formulate a thought. It takes a lot longer time, so you have to be very patient. And I think it's the weirdest thing. every single thing we teach always stems to the fact that you really have to have patience. You just really have to slow down your speech, look them in the eye, smile. They can, so they're picking up on good vibrations and not just, I think someone struggling and really just trying to communicate and just rather than flowing out and just talking to somebody, like there's nothing wrong with them. They're just, a little bit slower. And then you really can have a very effective conversation.
Well, that to me is invaluable advice. I've had family members who have had various forms of dementia, and part of it is uncomfortable. I know family members and loved ones may feel guilty, frustrated, all of those things, and trying to care for their loved one, but dealing with some of the things you talked about. So even learning that of how to have a meaningful conversation and to draw their loved one out into a conversation, to me just seems like an invaluable service that you provide.
Yeah, we're finding that, it's funny, Jack, there's on one of our papers, there's a list of do's and a list of don'ts. And invariably people will say, I do every single one of those don'ts that's on that page, because they don't, how would you know how to talk to somebody? Or, it's something that you really have to learn because, a diagnosis it brings on a whole new world, a whole new set of rules. And for the most part, most people don't know what those rules are.
Now, tell me about the family get-togethers or the get-togethers you do on site.
Okay.
That program.
So there's actually a couple of programs that work with caregivers. One is called Traveling the Journey, which is going on today. It starts out with a speaker. So it could be a doctor. It could be somebody, an attorney. Any one of the nonprofits in the Valley may, do similar to what I'm doing with you right now, and just explain what the services are that are available to people. Then they break off. The caregivers will go into one group with a facilitator, and then the diagnosed will have activities, and then that will go on for, about an hour or so, and then they come back and basically, have a little bit of something to eat and then go home. That's very successful. So after that got started, it's usually about, no more than 8 families, sometimes between 6 and 8, either couples or small families. They get together. Well, after the 8, it's an 8-week series. And after they finished with the first 8-week series, they said, well, now what do we do? We're used to coming every Friday for 8 weeks, and now there's nothing to do. So I remember the day is very funny. Pat, Edie Keller, and myself, we sat down and we said, we've got to think of something that they're going to really enjoy that they can do, like on a weekly basis. So that's when Club Journey was established. So now every Tuesday, and we're hoping if we can get enough funding that we're going to be able to do it twice a week. But for now, every Tuesday, Club Journey starts, and it's at 10 o'clock in the morning. People start arriving. We do exercising with a personal trainer, mostly chair exercising and breathing. And then we do things like maybe dominoes or bingo and all different kinds of activities throughout the day. And then after we do that, we have lunch. Well, in the meantime, the caregivers are talking to each other. The diagnosed are either singing or, playing cards or dominoes or making, putting puzzles together or something. And it's basically just about having fun. I don't like to tell people that you're coming to Alzheimer's Coachella Valley. I like to just say, tell your loved one we're going to the club today. It's Tuesday morning and we're heading to the club. And it seems to be very effective. They walk in, usually after a couple of weeks coming, they're starting to remember who they are met. calling people by name. Many of people that were, very just head down and sullen and not really saying a word are now talking. They can't wait for Tuesdays. And I've had so many people, Jack, tell me, this is just like going to a family member's house and just, having like a little party with our family. And I always tell people it's kind of funny because when they're leaving, it's like a big Italian family, and it takes them an hour to leave. They all are all hugging each other and trying to get out the door. So it's really pretty funny. I invite anybody to come and just take a look at it and see for your own eyes just how much fun they really have.
Well, and I think that's important because we talk about caregivers and we have paid caregivers, and then we have family caregivers. And for family caregivers, there's a great deal of stress and anxiety and perhaps guilt about what they're going through and what is being asked of them. And so something like this seems it can really take some of that stress off the family caregiver.
Yeah, it's really important that you bring that up, Jack, because, as you know, nearly 70% of the caregivers will pass before the dementia patient will. And when you stop and think about, just how much stress, think about somebody probably following you around the house every day. Somebody that's up during the night when you're trying to sleep. And think about how much stress is on you with really, no chance to just get away from it. And that's why we initiated another program called Breathing Space. And so for, even if it's just a few hours, once a week, we try to get caregivers some respite time so they can either take their loved one to, adult daycare, or we can help pay for a caregiver to come to the home and let that caregiver get out. Maybe it's somebody that needs to get their hair done or see their attorney or go shopping or just go see a movie or maybe come to one of ACV's programs, one of the classes, anything just for a little bit of diversion. So we tell people, apply for the Breathing Space Scholarship and let us see if we can help you in that way too.
Well, there are a lot of important programs that Alzheimer's Coachella Valley has, and I think our listeners and viewers would like to know how they could get in touch with you to find out more information.
Sure. Always start at the website, which is cvalzheimers.org. You can go through the website and find, all the different schedules. There's calendars, there's, explanations of the different programs and services. And then you can call Priscilla at the office, and she's there right now. She's there from 8 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon. And that number is 760-776-3100. And she can give you the rundown of where the different support groups are. I think there's like 6 different support groups going on right now at different assisted living facilities and senior centers throughout the Coachella Valley. And so she can give you all the times and all your information. And also, if you like to donate, you can always click on the donate here and give us a hand, because ACV, relies strictly on the generosity of the community and, generous foundations like, the Berger Foundation and various foundations in the Valley that have supported us.
And that's something people may not know, that you are a nonprofit organization. You're a volunteer. People spend a lot of time volunteering and providing their services. Yet it still costs money to maintain that 4,000 square foot space you have.
Yes, it does.
To provide the services. So why don't you give us that website and phone number again to make sure people can have a chance to write it down.
Sure. The website is cbalzheimers.org. And the phone number is 760-776-3100. And just as a little side note there, as I think Jack mentioned, all of our programs are offered absolutely 100% free of charge. So, you don't have to worry about anything. You just come, let us give you a hand. We've got infinite resources for you. If we can answer just about any questions, and if we can't, we'll find the answers for you.
Well, Dom, I really want to thank you for joining us today and letting us know about Alzheimer's Coachella Valley and all the wonderful services you provide, and the training that you provide, not only for family caregivers, but also for the caregivers that are out in the community, the paid caregivers. Most of them don't learn these things if they've become a CNA or something about that. They don't learn those details. They learn how to transfer someone from one place to another, or some of the basics. But this is really a specialized field, so that's a great service you're offering to that community.
Well, thank you very, very much, Jack, for having us here today, and we appreciate the help that the Jocelyn Center has given us through the years, and the support that you guys have, lent to us. So thank you very much.
Well, it's our pleasure, and we're really happy to help spread the word about Alzheimer's Coachella Valley, and do anything we can to work together with you. So thank you for joining us. Have a great weekend, and to our viewers and listeners, have a great weekend. And we will be back next week at 11 o'clock on Friday for Interview Fridays. Thanks, Dom. Have a great weekend.
Okay. Thank you, Jack.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.